Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, the van is behind me because we're off again. This time a rather mad jaunt. It's the last day of January and we're heading to the continent. So this is where I spent the night. We're in Kent, a short hop to the ferry. The reason I'm down here staying rather than my usual run straight down to Dover overnight and then down through France is because I'm not heading south. So I'll tell you more about that later, but first of all, this is what I call down south for.
Right, okay. Good? Yeah.
It's a Talmag trial. Pre-65, held outside Aldershot. Not been to it for donkey's years, but as I was heading down this way and it was on, it seemed a shame not to have a look. So let's go and see what we can find on the paddock. Well, if you're going to drag a classic pre-65 trials bike about, you might as well do it in style. With a Ford F1 50s, lovely pickup. Very, very stylish. V8. Right, I made it to France. This is where I spent last night. This is the Air at Air-sur-la-Lys in northern France, and very comfortable it is too. €15 a night with electrical hookup. There's a heated ablutions block with hot water and washing up sinks, etc, etc, so very nice, and split between two canals. There's one just here on this side of the van and another one there. So let's take a walk into town because it's, although small, it's an interesting place. The town looks very Flemish in many respects, and with good reason. It was part of the Spanish Netherlands until the late 1700s. And this canal network goes out to where the campsite was, which is about 3 or 4 minutes that way. And this was the quayside where goods coming up from St Omer and places came into the town. But although this contributed to the wealth of the place, it relied on something else, which we're going to go and have a look at now. An old Simca badge on this garage, which, looking at the colours that the brickwork has been painted, was probably a Simca repair shop at some time. The central square, although it's more triangular I suppose, is very impressive. Again, looks very, very Flemish. Complete with a fruitery, as you'd expect up here, and then this massive building at the end, and it is huge. It's the town hall, which frankly is big enough for a large city. This place only has about 10,000 inhabitants, so quite why it's this large I'm not sure, other than the fact that they obviously had a lot of money. Then across the road is a fascinating building with a colonnaded front, which I'll go and have a look at. I don't know what it is, but we'll try and find out. Right, apparently it was a courthouse and the base of the militia, who used a tower behind the town hall, which you can see peeking over there, as a watchtower across the flatlands that surrounded it. This dates from 1600. Very impressive it is too. This is the watchtower from the rear. This is where Air-sur-la-Lys got its money, the church. Now this church as it stands dates from the 1700s, early 1700s. But the town got a license for religious activity of the King of France before the Norman conquest, and at the time of the French Revolution there were 20 chapels in the town because they had managed to secure themselves a relic of St James, and therefore this little town became a pilgrimage site, and with the pilgrims came money, which explains the large number of rather impressive buildings scattered around the town. Now, it's locked up. I don't think I'm going to be able to get in, but I'll have a look around the back. It is, I'll show you the side, it is big enough to be a cathedral anywhere else. It's now a historic monument, it's no longer a religious building of any description. I'm not sure scale really shows up in these action cameras, but believe me, it's big. Now this water mill that's in front of us, which doesn't look like it'll do much turning now, was designed by a famous French architect whose name escapes me. But the most important thing about it is it was built by disabled ex-servicemen who were no longer able to fight but were sufficiently able to do construction projects. And they built this in the late 1600s. Now this imposing building isn't yet another chapel stuck in the middle of town. This time founded by the Jesuits, who provided schooling for the town, free schooling for the town, which no doubt made them very popular. Again, it's now just a historic monument, but impressive scale once more. So that's it for Air-sur-la-Lys. Interesting little town. And if the weather's good, like it is today, and you fancy a walk, I believe you can walk along the canal all the way to St Omer and possibly onto Dunkirk, I'm not sure. So let's move on. Right, Air-sur-la-Lys behind me. I'm now at Neufchâtel-en-Bray at the Air, which has, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other people here, so it's quite busy for the time of year, January still. It has everything you need, dumping ground for all your various stuff, washing machines, toilet, showers, free Wi-Fi, which I'm right next to, so it's fast. 14 euros a night. So let's have a quick look and see who else is around. Well, amazingly, they're all British. So clearly touring around at this time of year in Northern Europe is not that unusual. Unless, of course, they're all heading down to Spain. Right, so a quick look in town. It's starting to get a bit dark, but we should be able to get enough light to see what's going on. Neufchâtel hasn't got a lot going on really, typical small town. Interesting building across the road, which we're going to go and have a look at, and a church, which you'll have seen already. Right, the house dates back to the late 1500s and is described as a bourgeois residence. It's certainly big enough, that's for sure. And it's escaped the bombing in the Second World War, an escape which is described on the plaque as miraculous, as Neufchâtel got absolutely flattened, but somehow this survived. In the centre of Neufchâtel is a Voie Verte, which used to be the old railway line, and on our right is what used to be the town station. The line was built in the early 1900s, and it ran from Paris to Dieppe to cash in on the craze at that time of sea bathing, which has suddenly become very popular. In fact, the British used to come across to France and sea bathe as well. The resorts on the coast, the Tréport and places like that, suddenly became very popular indeed. Anyway, this line didn't survive the Second World War. The bombing finished it off and no one bothered reinstating it. But the station building remains. There's now a small restaurant and a shop, and the Voie Verte rolls off for miles into the low-lying green hills around here. So a pleasant and level ramble through some lovely countryside.